What's up, everybody? Thank you so much for listening to this week's episode. I wanted to just throw this in the beginning. Please subscribe, rate, and review the podcast. That really helps our numbers. Check out the merch store at brennantcomedy.com/merch store to get your ex-drinking buddy merch. And if you really want to, subscribe on Patreon, patreon.com/brennantassif. That really helps me out. Thank you so much. Enjoy the episode.
Grab me a beer and grab him a coke. We bout to sit for an hour, bullshit and tell jokes. And please don't mix it up, cause he done sobered up. Brandon T Comedy on your social media feeds. And Brandon Tassif is your ex-drinking buddy. Brandon Tassif is your ex-drinking buddy. Brandon Tassif is your ex-drinking buddy. Brandon Tassif is your ex-drinking buddy.
What's up, everybody? Welcome into another edition of Brennan Tassif is your ex-drinking buddy. I'm your host, Brennan Tassif. If you're new to the program, quick rundown of the show. I used to be everyone's favorite drinking buddy. It's my favorite thing to do. Hang out with friends, get drunk, do drugs, get in all sorts of trouble, and reminisce about crazy stories. I am sober now, but it's still one of my favorite things to do, to hang out with a guest and reminisce about the crazy old days. Most weeks I will be joined by a guest, and this week is no exception. All the way from Astoria, New York, Scott Hall! Number 2, man. 2 in 3 weeks.
Good to see you again, dude.
Great to see you. So for those of you listening, you might be a little confused. Like, wait, didn't we just watch this? Is this the same episode? Scott came on the show. It would have been, by the time you're listening to this, 3 weeks ago. Because we're going to do one in between. And we got a lot into comedy. And
we were kind of complaining for a while.
Complaining a lot about those ladies. But seriously, we were talking a lot about comedy and how you got into it, and because we both share kind of a passion for the art form, we were kind of stuck on that for a while. And by the time we got into the stories, it's good for a lot of guests because they don't have a ton of stories. Yeah, comparatively to you and I. Yeah, but we do have those stories. So it is one of those things where by the time we got into the stories, we got up to you going to jail, and you had mentioned how jail kind of saved your life. And then we were like, well, we're out of time. We'll talk to y'all next week. Yeah. So I was like, you have to come back immediately. Before we kind of continue the tale, plug everything one more time. Grove 34, the whole deal. Let everyone know where they can find you.
Oh, yeah. Just check out, I guess, every platform. I'm Scott Hall Stand-Up. I have a podcast called You Can't Say That. And there's the Scott Hall Show. Everything's on my stuff. And then Grove 34 in Astoria, Queens is my club. Check that out. We always have amazing headliners. Cool little
Such a good club. We talked about it last time. One of the underrated hidden gems in the city. And I don't say that for any disrespect. It's just everyone goes, no. Oh, the Cellar, the Stand. But Grove 34, if you start watching, if you are out there watching comedy clips, you're going to see a lot more of Grove 34 popping up.
Literally Tuesdays with Stories. If you go to Joe List and Mark Norman stuff, all their crowd work and Patreon stuff is all done at Grove for the most part. So check that out. But we want to be a cool indie club. So what we're doing is cool. We don't want to be too big, too fast. We don't have to deal with all that shit. Yeah, we like having fun and having a little workout room. So it's cool.
It's a blast. And I'll be in Astoria. I moved to Astoria in July. I'm going to be there. I was telling Tracy about this last night. My girlfriend, who I contractually have to mention on every episode, she came to the show at Old Man Hustle last night. We were doing Matt Fulcheron and Friends, which was a blast. You guys have already heard about that because Matt came on. Matt's going to be the episode in between. But I was telling her, I was like, yeah, there's a sick club in Astoria. I was like, so I don't even have to come back to man. Who needs the Cellar?
And it's not QED.
Yeah.
They're fun. No, they're not. They blocked all of us, so they can miss my D.
It's interesting. I was talking to somebody about it in the industry, like in comedy, and I was like, yeah, I had Scott Hall on. He's one of the owners of Grove 34. It's the best club in Astoria. And they were like, yeah, there's only a couple out there. There's like QED, and then this person who had no idea, because this episode, your first episode hasn't even aired yet, it went, I don't know if you can call that a club, though. And I was like, oh, my God, I got to tell Scott about that.
There's no QED?
Yeah, they were.
You know what the funny part is that they have, this is so bad. I don't care, really. Actually, they blocked me. But they, they are more of a club than we are, technically. We're just a room. Yeah. But we do such a better job. I hate to say that. I just think the difference is they've been around for a lot longer, and then we don't do as many produced shows. We see the headliners, so whatever, just different strokes for different folks.
So Grove 34, check it out. We're not gonna do any more drive-bys on any other clubs for the rest of the episode. I promise.
Thank God we just let's veer out of that again.
I was talking to a buddy of mine who does social media. He does a lot of tech stuff. So he does like a lot of reviews of tech. He's real into tech. Shout out to Daniel Bearcat, the original drinking buddy. The guy I started the show with back in college where we just get drunk and talk on mics. Before we even knew what an RSS feed was. We're like, we're going to make this a podcast.
Most people who do podcasts don't know what an RSS is.
Yeah, it's true. But I was talking to him about it, and it was so interesting because we were talking about social media, and he goes, how much time does it take you to edit? And I was like, 30 minutes? And he's like, how? And I was like, for the podcast, I just have to add the intro and like the cover art and stuff. He's like, oh, so you don't go through and edit the actual podcast and like take stuff out? And I was like, no.
Yeah, rarely.
And then in my head, as we're talking about like shitting on clubs, and then the last time you were on, we were shitting on comics, I was like, I don't know, maybe I should start doing that.
Yeah, there's also...
But I'm not. I won't. I'm not. But
there's also like a mass... there's a little bit of an ego thing of like anyone's gonna listen to this or care.
Yeah.
And I don't mean like people are obviously listening, but people within the comedy sphere we don't listen to each other's shit.
No, and that's
like,
the other thing.
they don't give a fuck what we're doing. They have their own stuff to worry about.
To that point, it could never ring truer when you because you obviously you're on social media. That's what we're talking about. You do a lot of editing and stuff, and you're a fantastic editor. If anyone needs anything edited, reach out to Scott Hall. Do you worry about burning material? At like our level, do you worry about like, oh, if I put this joke online, I can't say it at a club anymore?
I've been really probably to my detriment, like I don't want to share material.
Yeah.
Part of it is because I spent so much time getting the foundation with the club and editing and stuff. So I kind of put my stand-up it's not bad, but a lot of it's personality and old stuff, and it's not as tight as I'd like it to be.
Okay.
So I'm not trying to push that as much, but I also that most of it comes from the fact that everyone I see around me, like, and not everybody, but people just put up as many clips as possible for some algorithm thing.
Yeah.
And it's like, not only are you burning jokes, but like you can only keep up a certain bar of like what's funny.
That's why I love having the podcast, because I can just dump clips.
Exactly. Well, that's what I tell everybody. If you want a content machine, this is it.
Yeah.
It's an hour, and then you have 5-minute clips, and then you have infinite short clips, and literally infinite.
I was telling Johnny before we started recording, I started using this new AI thing because cutting clips before was taking me a very long time because I'd have to listen to the episode, screenshot, like, oh, that was funny, screenshot the time mark, while I'm listening, and then sit down on Adobe and go through, find the time marks, cut, and it would take me forever. And then I started working with this new program, and it's all AI based. I literally just plug in, I download the episode into it, and it cuts between 30 and 50 clips.
Isn't it jerky though?
Yeah. Like I have to go in and clean it up, but But what my point is though, it'll cut like 50 clips, and then I go in and clean them up, and it takes me maybe an hour to get the 5 clips for the week. Whereas before, it would take me just an hour to re-listen to the hour-long episode to like take screenshots.
We'll talk after that about what is that.
Yeah. No,
we used the Adobe one on this last episode. I haven't watched it, but the guy, one of the other editors, did it.
Yeah, so it's interesting because I got this program probably a month ago, and then the last Adobe update that came out like 3 weeks ago had the software, and I was like, "You got to be fucking kidding me!"
So I used the Adobe one. I don't know what it looks like. I'm assuming it's going to be jerky, but
yeah, I mean it is, but it's still one of those things where you can go in and you recut the splits and stuff. So, but it has saved a ton of time because, like you said, like now I can just get 40 clips. And it's weird because I feel almost like I'm harassing my guest because I'm always inviting them to be a collaborator. Yeah. So like the next like 7 things on their timeline are the clip of them from the show.
Yeah.
But I like that. But the reason I bring up the stand-up thing is because you made a good point. I don't even know if you meant to about the ego thing earlier. And it is interesting because I, for the longest time, railed against social media, and I was like, and then I even talked to Joe List about this when he was on my show about a year ago, because I was like, yeah, I don't want to burn material. And he's obviously a much bigger, more established comic than I am.
Yeah.
And he was like, yeah, Joe was telling me how he would tell younger comics, like, yeah, that's for a special. And they would look at him like he was an idiot. Like, no, it's for content. Like that's what it's for.
Yeah.
So we were like having this conversation about like, are we doing it wrong? And then I talked to another buddy who has quite a few followers, like 250,000, and he was like, nobody cares. He's like, I post stuff and I'll still do the bits on say. And then I realized like, oh, my ego is that where I only have a few thousand followers, but I'm still like, well, once I put it online, I can never say it again.
Yeah, that was, yeah, exactly. When I first started in DC, I had a guy tell me that, and I was like, nobody knows you, dude.
Yeah.
Shut the fuck up. Like, who do you think that you're burning material
Yes.
for? Like, who do you think you are?
I had one of my favorite jokes got like 10,000 views.
Yeah.
But I like it because it's my movie line bit where I talk about the Mighty Ducks 3, and I tag Emilio Estevez and Joshua Jackson and all these people who are in Mighty Ducks 3.
Yeah.
And a couple of them, like these famous actors, liked the post.
Yeah.
And I was like, and then, obviously triggers the algorithm because people who are famous are liking it. So then it got up to like, I think right now it's sitting at like 15,000 views.
Nice.
15,000. And I was like, can never use that again.
That's so funny.
That's it.
That's like
I'm
nothing.
out.
I hate to say that, but that's like in the grand scheme of like a cat talking into a doorbell.
Yeah.
Like, that's like, it's got like 50 billion,
It's insane. And it's one of my best jokes. So it's like, oh no, I'm still going to do this.
Yeah, it's a weird thing. I treat Instagram more like a resume.
Yeah.
Whereas like
That's smart.
I know when someone looks at like, let's say you meet somebody, the first thing they're going to do is go to your Instagram.
Yeah.
So I like to make sure that my Instagram is more like a portfolio. It just looks good. You can see what I've done, the different types of stuff. So I'll post a stand-up clip on I don't post a lot on my Instagram. I do it for everybody else.
Yeah.
But I like a good podcast clip from everything that I've done recently, a good stand-up clip up in the last feed, and then I'll re-up stuff that like helps how I want to be perceived.
Yeah.
Like what I want my brand to be. It's usually just telling stories about myself and being like really in depth.
Smart.
But and then TikTok and YouTube. I'm trying to grow on YouTube and YouTube mostly, but Reddit.
YouTube's the one.
But those ones, like, I'll just throw stuff up because it's like I'm trying to grow on there. Instagram, I treat it a little bit more. I don't really care if I blow up on Instagram.
Yeah, and it's really smart because I was talking to an actor that I work with, and she was like, because we were when I released the one-man show, and like, we set up the IMDb page for it and everything, and so it's cool because I was like, oh, if you Google me now, it used to be like football, my mugshot, like all that kind of shit.
Yeah.
And now if you Google me,
stuff.
Yeah, the good stuff, baby. It's a lot. I dumped a lot of money into the SEO and all this kind of stuff for the podcast. So like if you, even like someone as famous as like Derek Gaines or Joe List or Emma Willman, if you type in their name and then like drinking buddy, I think that's all you really need. The episode of the podcast comes up.
Hell yeah.
Or like even if you type in their name in podcast, like mine's on like the first couple of pages. Even if they have 5 podcasts, mine will still come up because I've made sure Google like did that.
It's all SEO and like tags on the YouTube videos and paying attention to all that crap.
But it's interesting because this actor friend of mine was telling me, she's like, oh, do you update your website? Which
it's
archaic.
Nobody goes to a website.
Archaic.
Nobody goes to a website. It's like an ego thing again.
Yeah. And I don't update dates or anything like that.
It's like we do bar shows, dude.
Yeah.
You do bar shows.
But she made a good point. She was like, she's like, well, like the agents I work with, I hear them talking about like their other clients, and they actually check the website to see the dates you have coming up to make sure you're working. And I was like, I haven't updated a date on my website since like 2022. What?
Yeah.
I'm like, I should be updating that? And she's like, yeah, because then it shows you're working. And I was like, oh, fuck.
I think you could do a link tree.
That's what I do.
My thing is like I just think the way the internet works, and of course we talked about like we were talking about business. I mean, it's only been 10 minutes, but because I love this stuff. I'll talk about this for hours to anybody that'll listen. But I think just the way the internet works, there should be the smallest amount of time between someone finding your content and getting to the thing you want them to get them to. Yeah. So a website is just adding another, like, it's like veering them off from the thing. And it's like, I would never click on someone's website. No. I'm very savvy with the internet. And as soon as someone makes me try to go to like a different thing, I'm like, okay, my brain's off. Yeah. It's like when I click YouTube and it opens up in my browser instead of in the app. I hate that. And you can get links and put them in a website and then get them just to open up in the YouTube app. And it's small stuff like that will give people like the extra... You're just making it easy for them. So what I do now is I use a link tree, but I have my like website in there. Yeah. I have everything in there. The website now is the landing.
is the host page for the podcast. So I have to have the website because I've developed the RSS feed and everything through the website.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I don't want to like, now I'm 3 years in. It's like,
I don't think it's bad, but I like it in the link tree of like, there are people that are going to want to go to your website, but at least it's right there. It's an option they could also go directly to the other stuff. Yeah. You can go to the podcast. You can go check out the link tree, Brennan T Comedy. It's Brennan T Comedy everywhere. But I say that because I want people to see the one man show. Like that's my baby. Yeah. Yeah.
So I have on everything, the premiere, the top post, the pin post, whatever it is, it's all from the one man show. So I'm trying to make it easier for people to like click through just to get to that. And it all tracks back to the YouTube page. Like it's not like the videos in different spots. Like it's all on the YouTube page and everything else is just links to the YouTube page. Yeah. So in that way, it all filters to one spot.
That's the smart way to do it. Yeah.
Yeah. Cause I know people who will like put stuff up on different, like, especially if it's a longer form thing, they'll put it up on like different pages. And I'm like, yeah, but then now you're tracking from 3 different spots. Like, it makes it more difficult for people to get to.
Yeah, people don't. I mean, it's good for me. I'm happy that most people don't want to spend the effort or time to learn about this stuff. As a creator, it's good for me. I mean, I hate to say that. I guess there's enough room for everybody. Like, you're not right now. It feels like we're all competing.
We're not.
We're not at all.
At all.
The internet's so fractured. It's like. Yeah, it's like, oh, you're burning material. It's like, dude.
To who?
Yeah, to who? And also, like, do you know how many people that are, like, massively famous? Like, go on Reddit, and this is the example I always use, but go on Reddit and type in, like, Japanese doll painting. And there'll be, like, a live video of someone painting, like, little figures, and that'll have, like, 50 million views.
Yeah.
And it's like, you didn't even know that existed.
Well, and that's...
So to speak to your comedy, like, you'll be fine. Everyone will be fine. Do exactly what you want to do. Find your group.
Yeah. And that's all it is finding your group. I say it all the time, but talking to, like, friends, other comedians, podcasters, even my girlfriend, because she's a teacher. She's a civilian. She doesn't understand how a lot of this works.
Civilian.
Everyone always laughs when I say that, but I'm like, that's the best way to just...
That pedestrian, normie. I say normie.
Because in AA, we say the same thing. We'll go, they're just a civilian. So that's why it's in my head. But she'll be like, oh, like, what do you mean when you say you hope that the Patreon blows up? And it's so funny because I'll say something and... When you first say it, the knee-jerk reaction is that's crazy. If I go, oh, well, if I could get 10,000 people on Patreon, I'd be pretty set. And she's like, that's crazy. I go, there's 287 million people that live in this country. What's 10,000?
It's nothing.
Like, that's nothing.
Yeah, especially for like $5 a month, $2 a month. You do that and then you forget about it.
Yeah. And that's the thing, too.
I mean, you pay for it, but...
And that's why, because I've had more people subscribing lately, and it's not even like I'm not even in triple digits. Yeah. But it is one of those things where it's like, oh, now I feel it pays my electric bill every month. I have an obligation to these people who are on here to give them the content that was promised. So I've really ramped up on like Tales from the Restaurant, where I talk about celebrities I've waited on. But sometimes it's not good. So I put it behind a paywall because sometimes I talk shit about the celebrities that I've waited on because they're terrible people, Travis Kelce. So I have to put it in that. You got to subscribe on Patreon to find out.
God damn it.
So yeah, it is. The whole thing is, and you're in it because not only are you doing it for your career, but you do it for other people too.
Yeah.
So is it one of those things where it's just kind of, and I'm sure this is kind of a standard softball question, but does it ever become, one of my favorite shows of all time is Burn Notice, and I talk about this all the time. I talk about it on stage. There's an episode in Burn Notice.
It up last time, and I think that's embarrassing, and you should not tell people that you like that show.
Oh, dude. I have a tattoo on my back because of Burn Notice.
Is it a Burn Notice tattoo?
It's actually...
How much would it take for you to... How many Patreon subscribers for you to get the logo of Burn Notice tattooed?
Oh, my God. If we could get up to triple digits, 100 Patreon subscribers, I'll get the Burn Notice logo tattooed on my body.
No, not on your body. Big on your back, noticeable.
Well, because I have 2 on my back already. That's why it might look weird.
Well, on your neck then.
Well, if we get up to 1,000 Patreon subscribers, I'll get it tattooed on my neck. But if we can get up to triple digits, I will get the Burn Notice logo tattooed big on my back. Like, I have no problem with that.
I support this.
It's one of my favorite shows of all time. Subscribe on Patreon, people. There's a $1 tier. If you want to see me get a Burn Notice tattoo on my back. But in one of the episodes... one of my favorite episodes is called Bad Breaks. It's season 2. there's a guy who's embezzling money. He's like this standard yuppie, like accountant white guy, embezzling money from his best friend, who's a hip hop artist, who's like a Jay-Z character. He's like a mogul. He's played by Method Man in the show. And at one point at the end of the episode, spoiler alert, they find out that he's embezzling and like they catch him, and he goes, there's this big dispute. And I say all that to say, he's looking at the other character and he goes, you know what, Ricky? I don't even like the music anymore. I can't stand it. So for you, being involved so much in comedy and other editing and stuff like that, have you ever gotten to a point where you're like editing and you're like, I don't even fucking like stand up. Like, I don't want to, like, I hate this.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Oh, yeah, dude. I'm so burnt out. I'm
Yeah, I guess I could have just said, are you burnt out? I really went a long way to find that.
No. But that's good. I mean, it's good framing because that is exactly where it's coming from, is that it's just like 100% of my day. Like, I'll show you my phone. Like, I wake up to people text me being like, are you alive? Because they wanted like a clip of something and they wanted it like right then. And it's fine. But it's like, there's a couple different things because one, I spend literally from the time I wake up to the time I go to sleep either editing or doing podcast or doing stand-up. Like after this, I'm going to go home. I'll probably edit for a little while. Then we're driving to Rochester. We have a gig there with my lady. And then we're coming back down. Tomorrow's all fucking podcast editing, podcast stand-up. Like it's 100% of my life. And most of it is other people's stuff. Well, maybe not most of it, but it's like, that's what pays most of the bills for now. Yeah. And so it takes priority over my own stuff, and it is exhausting because the creativity goes away a little bit because I'm all ones and zeros a lot of the time. Yeah, a lot of it's like editing and uploading and make sure like we're doing niche topics and making sure everybody else's branding looks good and that they're happy. And sometimes it can suck the joy out of it, but also like I realize it's paying off now. Like I put some stuff on the back burner. I think a lot of people when they get into comedy, they think they have to like crush mics. And you do. You have to practice. You have to get good at comedy. I'm not saying not that, but this is not Johnny Carson. Yeah. You know, this isn't late night.
This isn't the era where there's 3 channels, and if you can get on, the Tonight Show, your career is
everybody wants to. You're competing with everybody. You're not only competing with comedians. You're competing with the number one thing that people want to be growing up now is like a YouTube creator. So everybody's looking to put out content, and you're trying to beat them to be. Not necessarily beat them, but you're trying to earn your space of attention on the internet. And that requires you to do more things than get up on stage at bars to nobody, a bunch of times a week. You should take half that time and learn SEO stuff and learn how to do business things because nobody I know, and when I was working at the Cellar, was the same way. And it really humbled and helped me take this stuff off a pedestal. All these guys have writing jobs and TV jobs, and they're doing all kinds of other stuff, podcasts, whatever. And the people that are really making it now are people who have built like a podcast following. They're making like 40, 50, 60, 100 grand a month off their podcast.
I love looking at Tim Dillon's number because he puts it right there on the thing. It's like 247,000 a month.
Yeah, he likes it though.
He likes
to show it off.
Yeah.
Which is good.
Yeah.
But that is the game now. And so to ignore that, for me anyway, everyone's got a different path, especially in art. But I spent a lot of time laying this foundation, and now I own a club and I can do whatever I want. And I have resources of all these resources because of the club and connections. And it's like, that is what I delayed it for. And I'm starting to come over the bend a little bit. Yeah. You know what I mean? I can go on the road when I want to, get paid to do that. And I have a lot of cool opportunities that I get to do, but it's all from sacrificing first. So I think I'm definitely coming over it, but there was a time where I was very, very
just watching clips like it's the same fucking premise,
yeah,
over and over and over.
Yeah, I get fear. I would get very opinionated. I got medicated right before the last podcast. I think I might have told you that.
Oh,
I started taking beta blockers.
Oh, you did? Yeah. You mentioned that. Yeah,
they doubled my milligrams already. but before that, I was in kind of like a not great place because I felt. Because when you're doing all this stuff also for yourself and for other people, I don't mean to ramble, but you can for sure be like, oh, am I even an artist or am I just like an editor? Which is art. When I edit, it's art. But the more work I take on,
hard flex.
It is a hard, bro. I don't care. Go look at some of my.
It's art.
Go look at some of the heavier edits I've done. They're gangster. I'm a very good editor, and I'm not shy about that. But doing bullshit podcast clips is not art.
Yeah.
So it's like I got some of that sucked out where I couldn't do fun stuff in the edit. It was about cranking out just whatever material, for money. Yeah, because a lot of people don't care.
Content, yeah.
So that sucks. And then the more tricky part out of all of it, and I guess this is a little bit different than the burnout, but the trickier part was coming up as a comic and then transitioning into someone who does editing and video, and then becoming good enough to now where I have to tell people no, and I have clients, and like we have G34 Productions, we shoot specials, we did Sagalo's special, we shot Shafi Hussein's special, so all this stuff is going to be coming out this year.
Yeah.
But we literally have a production company at Grove, and so to transition from doing that to that means that I had to like create barriers with people that I worked with, because it's like, you know how comics, like we shoot stuff is like, hey, you want to come over and you hold the phone and like we'll collab on it, and that's kind of like the game is you have a lot of followers, you hold the phone and I'll be in most of it, but we'll collab on it, and that's kind of like how you pay someone is like we're all working on a thing together. Yeah, but that doesn't I hate to say above that, but at a different lane of like I worked for years to master like these programs and learn how to like edit and learn how to do the back end stuff. And so now this is my job.
Yeah.
So when someone's like, oh, can we shoot a sketch? Like, and I'm like, okay, well, this
is how much it's going to cost.
Yeah. They're like, what? And so there was a few months there where it was weird.
Yeah. I mean, I could imagine that because it is one of those things too, where like I've been doing comedy for a long time and it's weird because people are like, yeah, but you took all this time off and stuff. And I get that, but I value what I do to a certain extent, where it's like, if there are a lot of shows where someone will be like, hey, do you want to do like this, especially like when I go back home or something, and not even, I mean, I'll always try to get stage time, but the point is like, there are shows where I'll be like, well, you're going to need to pay me for this.
Yeah.
Like if someone's like, hey, do you want to host? I'm like, sure, I'll host, but now I'm getting paid.
Yeah.
Because that's not like, it's one thing if I'm going to come in and do like a 15-minute spot or a 12-minute spot or even a 7-minute spot and then I can leave, like then, you don't have to pay me. Like I just want to get the stage time. Like it's fine. It's cool. It's whatever. But just riff on some stuff, maybe get some new stuff.
That's what I mean though. It's like, you're going to treat it like a mic or just run some stuff in front of an audience.
Yeah. But if you're like, oh, you're going to host, well, now I'm obligated to be here. So now you're going to pay me. And that was a hard transition for me to make because I still have a hard time doing it. Well, like asking for money. Like, I help people with their podcasts and stuff just because I've been in it for a long time. And at one point I had 3 and, and it's the logistical stuff. Like people don't understand, like, how do I get my podcast on platforms? Where's the landing page? Like all this kind of stuff, cover art.
Yeah.
All thumbnails, intro music, thumbnail, like all this stuff people don't even think about, but I'm in it all the time. So I know, like I might not be very good at it personally, but I do know what you need.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of like a Sherpa. It's like, I'll lead you. Like you're going to have to do a lot of the work, but I'll lead you. And I started doing that for some other people. And before I would just do it for free. Like they'd be like, yo, let's sit down. I'll buy you a coffee and we'll talk about it.
Yeah.
And now I'm like, no, if we're going to do it, we're going to do it in this setting. And you're going to like, this is what it's going to cost.
Yeah.
And it hurts some people. So they're like, I thought we were, it's like, we are friends. Like, I'll have you on my show to promote it. Like, I love you, but I can't take time out of what I'm doing to do this just for free.
That's like a twofold conversation, I think, or just a realization where you have to have of like, okay, do you value, how much do you value yourself? Do you know what I mean? Like, cause a lot of people get into this and they think, and comedy and being able to do this for a living or spend most of your time doing it or spend most of your time worrying about it, like for this to be your primary concern to do this shit, like that's a privilege.
Yeah, for sure.
But it also, if you want it to be a job at some point, you have to start treating it like a job.
100%.
And so that means valuing yourself and asking for money when you think you deserve it, or knowing when that right time is to be like, you know what, I do deserve, I am good enough to deserve that. And sometimes it takes some self-love to be like, I'm good enough to earn because of this.
Yeah.
And then the other part is knowing when, like, dude, I mean, you can't help everybody all the time. And you'll find out when people are serious and they're not serious. And
that's like, the thing that bothers me the most.
Like, sorry, man. Like, I know you want me to do everything for you, but like, I'm doing this. I hate to say for real or like whatever, but I'm at a different point because I spent all this time doing this. So now my years spent doing this for nobody is worth something now.
Yeah.
And so you asking me to do it for free is
no.
it's not necessarily fair for you to be like, oh, well, I thought we were cool.
Yeah.
It's like, I thought we were cool. So you're asking me, do you know what I mean?
You're putting me in a real awkward position.
Yeah, you're making me be a dick.
Yeah. It's super interesting too, because I know a lot of comics, some of them, I shouldn't say a lot because most people are about content, but I know a few that are incredibly funny, but they don't post on anything. They don't do it. But they write a lot and they get on stage a lot and stuff like that. But to a point, to what you were talking about earlier, where it's like, okay, are we taking this seriously or not? Because the content aspect is a huge aspect of the industry. And not only that, but like you said with the Instagram, like making it look like a resume, making it look like a portfolio.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, but if you're just using that to post stories about like when you have a show, that's not...
Your flyers,
shitty
flyers.
Yeah, that's not what we're doing.
I mean, everyone can do what they want, but don't be surprised. You're going to get the outcome that you're going to.
Yeah.
Have a vision of what you want to be and how you want to get there. And if it doesn't include content, you better figure out something. You better be doing writing stuff or acting stuff or
crushing something
else. Or be on stage a fucking lot.
Yeah.
Working. But
that was interesting.
Don't be surprised if you don't get the outcome you want, but you're not doing the right work.
Yeah. If you're not doing, my coaches said it all the time. If you're not getting better, you're getting worse. Like you got to focus on getting better. That's like when a couple months ago, I flew out to LA to do the store.
Mm-hmm. Hell yeah.
And, they have mics there too. Sorry.
Well, you don't have to do that.
It's funny. I said that on an episode a few months ago. And then the guy, Zach McGovern, very funny comic. I said, I flew out to LA to do the store. It was like right after it happened. And he goes, yeah, they have mics there too. And I was like, that's probably one of the best burns of all time.
Yeah, that's pretty funny.
But everyone was like, even like I was talking to a friend of mine last night, Jill Kimmel, shout out, Hugh, very funny comic. She was like, wait, you were in LA? And I was like, yeah, because they were posting like some pictures from that show, which was a few months ago. And I go, yeah. She goes, why didn't you call me? I live in LA. And I was like, well, I was only out there for 14 hours.
Yeah.
And I've had to tell the story, and the listeners know because I talked about it when I first got back. But to your point, a friend of mine runs a show, the Riff Raff show at the store. It's a no material show. It's one of the best shows in LA. It started as like at a bar and it became such an underground sensation so quickly, the store picked it up. It's a fucking awesome show. There's 2 buckets, a riff and a raff. You pull a riff, you have to riff. You pull a raff, you have to do, it's like truth or dare. You pull a raff, you have to do a thing.
It's very LA.
But it was one of those things where my buddy was like, hey, we want you to do the riff raff. But my only 2 days off from work are Wednesday and Thursday, and the show happens to be on a Wednesday. So I flew out Wednesday afternoon, rented a car, hung out with my friends, did the show, went right back to the airport and flew back. And people are like, that's insane. And I go, have you ever played the store? And they go, no. And I go, I have.
Yeah.
So like, is that insane?
Yeah.
I've now done the store, the stand, the cellar. Like, is that insane?
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, because it's an establishing, like it's a goal. It's a milestone in a comic's career to be like, yeah, I've done a show at the store.
Yeah.
So like, it blows my mind when people are like, that's nuts. Or like, why wouldn't you make a vacation out of it? And I go, because I had to get back here for my other job to pay rent. Like, what do you...
but that's the difference between, is this work or is this something that you don't believe that you can attain?
Yeah. Is it something where you're not going to do everything possible to be like, I did that?
This is my life. There is no, and whatever. But like when I quit the restaurant stuff, I decided this is what my life was going to be. And then again, I can't credit anything more for comedy than working at the cellar, just because it just took everything off a pedestal. These are guys just going to work every day. I watched them come in and be like, I don't want to do this anymore. And then Jim Norton would be like, yeah, it's a job. Some days this is going to suck, dude.
Yep.
And it's like, oh, yeah, you know this thing like I wanted to do my whole life and didn't get the balls to do till I was almost 30 and now it's working out. Yeah, I don't want to do it today. Like today I want to lay in bed and eat M&Ms off my chest. I don't want to do anything. Last night I ate $30 worth of McDonald's.
Did you really?
Yeah, I fuck my face with food.
What'd you get?
No, 20 piece chicken. 20.
You got
all
20
chicken.
nugs?
Oh, yeah, 20 nugs. More stuff. Sandwiches,
the McChickens.
And a McChicken.
Did you get all chicken because you're like, this is healthier?
I just don't like the meat. I don't like the burgers there.
Yeah.
They don't.
Someone who used to work at McDonald's, I would recommend to go
not eat there at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course. No shit. But I wanted to eat some chemicals.
Hell yeah,
eat some fake. But I think
20 nugs, McChickens. Did you get fries?
Yeah, I got
Gotta
fries.
get fries.
Terrible, dude.
Large fries?
500 calories for like a large fry. Yeah.
Oh, it's more than
ate them in
it's
like
like
half a
1,200.
second. Dude, it was so bad. I felt terrible. And I stayed up all night editing.
What sauce did you use for the nugs?
Dude, I tried to get the new chili sauce and they gave me fucking tangy barbecue.
Ah.
I have a shit McDonald's where like you come in, you order on the thing and nobody talks to you. They just argue with each other in the back.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're just like screaming like, Charlene said she'd be here 5 minutes ago. She ain't here. I ain't mopping that shit up. And it's like, can I have my tangy barbecue, please? Can I have my chili sauce?
That was my first job was McDonald's, and it's so weird because it was such a place where I've always had this mentality because that's how, like, my dad used to always say, it doesn't matter what you do in life, be the absolute best at it.
My dad used to say that too.
That's how I treat comedy. That's how I treat the service industry. That's how I treat being a waiter.
Yeah.
Like, that's why I get to work at one of the nicest steakhouses in the city because I take it fucking seriously. I can tell you where all the food comes from. I can tell you how we prepare everything. Like, very rarely do guests have questions, and I'm like, I always say, let me double check with the chef, but very rarely am I like caught off guard completely.
Yeah.
Because I treat everything like that because I'm an addict and I'm obsessed. But when I was at McDonald's, I was the same way. Like, I'd be in the drive-thru with my headset and I'd be like, thank you so much for choosing our McDonald's. My name is Brennan Tassif. What can I get you?
But also, it's like a fun game to do stuff good.
Yeah. I mean,
you can trick yourself into doing that.
Yeah, it's cool. But to your point, it was so funny because one time, shout out to Marquise. We worked together and then he became my manager.
Shout out Marquise.
He's one of my best. He's the one who found me when I was unconscious and unresponsive on my last drunk. He's the one who got me to the hospital. If I'd be dead if it wasn't for him.
Shout out Marquise.
But I swear, one time I saw him throw a Diet Coke at a lady because she was like talking shit. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, she threw fries at him. She's like, these are cold, and like threw them at him. So he picked up her large Diet Coke and just threw it at her in her car.
That's Marquise, baby.
That's Marquise. And then the owner, because there was a franchised McDonald's, the owner came. Marquise told the owner exactly what happened. We all corroborated the story. And then that was just no firing, no write-up, no nothing. The owner was like, yeah, okay.
Nice.
And I was like, oh, that's the kind of people that, like, the mentality that people have at McDonald's that are working there. They're like, we don't give a fuck.
No,
man.
they don't give a fuck.
Like, fuck you, you're cool, and fuck you, I'm out.
They don't give a fuck.
So yeah, it's definitely one of those things where, because I know we got on fast food, but I was having this conversation with someone yesterday. Top 3 fast foods. McDonald's has got to be up there, right?
Oh, Taco Bell.
Taco Bell, I'll give you.
Taco Bell's probably 1.
You got Taco Bell 1.
Yeah. Wendy's and McDonald's and Burger King are the same thing to me.
Oh, really? See, I worked at Wendy's too. I'm a big Wendy's guy.
Yeah, Wendy's is best out of all of them.
Yeah.
I would say Taco Bell, Wendy's, probably some regional idiot would say.
Yeah.
In-N-Out or
fuck that.
Just some dickhead from some place who's like, I like this one.
I like Whataburger.
Yeah, it's like, shut up, stupid. It's all crap. Maybe
I am a big
pizza. We're in New York, so it's like,
Yeah, but you know what I'm saying. Like, you're on the road and you're like, oh, I want to get food. There's a Taco Bell, a Wendy's, and a Burger King next to each other. Where are you going?
I'm going to the gas station, getting myself some Monster Tabasco Slim Jims and a 20-ounce Celsius, dude. I was on the road not that long ago. I'm going out again in April every weekend, and I eat so much gas station food. I'll eat a Slim Jim every time we stop for gas.
Can I tell you something that's pretty sad?
They're terrible for you. What?
I get nostalgic. Probably the third biggest thing, because movies and shows is probably the top thing that gives me nostalgia for drinking. The third, though, is gas station food.
Interesting. Yeah.
Because when I was I burned through $26,000 in 28 days in Daytona, and I was living in downtown Daytona, and it was a business, but at the top of the business, they had an apartment. So I rented that because I knew the owners of the business. So they let me rent that. The smartest thing I did was pay for 6 months of rent up front because the rest of the money I just burned through.
Yeah.
But there was no food. Like, there was a Burger King, but that was like kind of far. And there was a Popeyes, but it was only open from like 11 to 8.
Uh-huh.
So I'd be hammered at like 10 o'clock at night, starving, and there was a gas station across the street. So there was a 7-Eleven, and I would go to that 7-Eleven, and it wasn't even a gas station. It was 7-Eleven. There was no gas. It was just a 7-Eleven, like how we have in New York.
Yeah.
And I would go in there, every night for a month straight and just get chili dogs and just fucking nachos.
I love crap.
Oh, dude.
I love crap. And I've been yoked. I've had abs. I've done all this stuff. I love eating crap.
Oh, yeah.
I feel terrible.
Oh, it makes me feel like I'm going to die.
Yeah, I don't. I've had friends that are like, I like being fat. And it's like, no, you don't, though.
No.
But eating it, while you're eating it, oh, my God.
Dude, I looked at the video from last night at Old Man Hustle.
Mm-hmm.
And I looked at the video. I did a 4K video from New York Comedy Club last Friday. And then I did an HD video last night. I don't think I'm getting fat. I'm a fat piece of shit.
Yeah, I had the same thought. I was editing something before I got here, and I was like, damn, I'm getting kind of fat. And I know that because I post like an old picture for St. Patrick's Day when I used to drink.
Yeah.
And everyone was like, oh, you lost weight. Good for you. I was like, this is from before, dude. That's not from now.
I got on the scale.
I'll take it.
I got on the scale at my girlfriend's house because I always say I'm 230.
Yeah.
Because I drink a shit ton of water, so my weight does fluctuate quite a bit because water, you drink as much as I do, it gets kind of heavy.
Yeah. I'm sure it's all water weight.
Yeah. But I got on the scale at my girl, and I say 230 because I fluctuate between 225 and like 235.
Yeah.
I got on the scale at my girlfriend's house last week, and it was like 247, and I was like, "Whoa, that's not water, baby! Come on, you fat piece of shit!"
Oh man, I'll reel it in when I have time to sleep.
Yeah. I
don't care right now.
Let's talk about it, though. You were talking about when you used to drink. The last time you were on I can't believe we did it again.
I know, dude. The last 20 minutes.
30 minutes. No, it's been 30. We started at 12:40.
I know, but I mean, we have 20 minutes.
Yeah, we got 20 minutes left.
But we can, yeah.
So the last time we were talking, you were in jail. And then you had mentioned that jail had kind of saved your life. For those of you, if you didn't listen to the last episode, long story short, you had 17 moving violations. You were driving on a suspended license, but at the time you were you were in the Army. I'm sorry.
No, I had 17 failures. I kept getting driving on suspended.
But because you were,
I wouldn't go to court.
But because you were in the service,
because I had a military ID.
Yeah, they would just let you go. So you ended up racking up 17 failure to appears, and then you ended up getting caught. Yeah, caught up, as it were.
I was ACON. I was locked up.
And then you go to jail. Where is this?
So this is by Virginia Tech. I'd been staying with an ex who let me move down there, and I just destroyed that whole relationship. Yeah.
Go back and listen to part 1 to get the full details.
Yeah. So long story short, I crashed her car, and then I leave there. I go back up. My parents have a meeting. Can I get back? Am I allowed back in the house? And at this point, I'm like, I think early to mid 20s, maybe 23, 24. And and
then the cops showed up.
They just showed up. Dude, I was at my house, and they let me home. So I came back home. I'm living with my parents. I'm sober. I got a serving job. I was going to I was trying AA for the first time, which I don't know. I know people are weird. We talked about it after the last episode about how people give a shit for telling war stories.
Yeah.
I caught a lot of...
That's the entire premise of this podcast.
Yeah, I caught a lot of crap from it before, and I was just like, But that's kind of what turned me off AA. That was my first real experience with it.
Yeah.
And
normally it's the God thing. That was the turn off for you?
No, the God thing I do buy into. We're not everything.
No, yeah, but normally when people say what turns them off in AA, because I've been in AA for a long time, normally the biggest thing is like, oh, the God thing. But for you, it was the experience aspect.
It was the experience, and also just the fact that it was. I just didn't feel like I was giving it up. It was like, how am I going to give up this thing if I spend 100% of my time thinking about it?
Yeah,
for me anyway.
Yeah,
I was just like, I can't think about this 100% of the day and be like, I'm past it. I don't think that's how that works. And it works for everybody, but for me, it was just like ignoring it. It was like the thing to do, just get it out. But so I moved back there, and we're at home one day, and like, dude, the cops just are not.
Set the scene. Are you having dinner? Is it like 5 o'clock?
I'm in my room, and I think it's me and only my dad home, and my little dog, my parents' little dog. And I look out the window in my room, which is by the front of the house. Like I can see the out front, and a cop car pulls up. And like I knew, based on my life, when a cop car pulled up, I just knew I did something. It was
based on my life.
For real. I just knew.
Special coming soon.
So I immediately got that like pit in my stomach of like, my dad's gonna be mad. Like what's about to happen? And of course it was the worst thing possible.
I love how just Freudian your statement was there.
What?
I got a pit in my stomach. My dad's going to be mad. That was the first thing you mentioned. Not going to jail. Not, I really fucked this up. Yeah. It was my dad's going to be mad.
Disappointing my father has been this is going to make me cry. But it's like, it might not make me cry. But there's, my dad is just, I know it's like cliche, but he's my hero. He's like a guy who, you know, he's never done anything famous by these people, like by anyone's like stand or anything cool by anyone's, you know, this type of shit. Yeah. These people, oh, is he rich or this or that? But he was just a guy who never lied and he did what he was supposed to do. And he was just a good guy. So and when the cops showed up, you were like, I let him down. And also, like, you know, during this, like, they come in, they knock on the door, they have a warrant. They like barely.
Well, take us through it. Are you in your room? Are you panicking? Like, what?
No, I put on pants because I'm like, okay, well, something's about to happen, and I go out. I go out into the living room. We answer the door. The guys, you know, the cops are banging on the door. One of them had jumped over the fence, so one of them's in the backyard,
making sure you don't run. Yeah,
making sure I don't run. There's two in the front. They knock on the door. They open the door. My dad. They're like, oh, we have a warrant. They immediately start trying to like arrest me. Mm-hmm. And my dad just doesn't know what to do. So he starts yelling at them.
Oh, really?
Being like, you can't jump in the fucking backyard. I have a dog. Could have bit somebody. My dad's like the type to, he wanted to defend me and he didn't know what to do.
Yeah.
So he was just like being mad about things. Yeah. Just like trying to find like trying to slow down the moment.
He's your fucking dad. He's got your back, man.
Yes. My dad's, and I was wrong. But he's just trying to slow down the moment by like, you know, trying to figure out what's going on.
What the fuck is happening?
Yeah. And
did he know about the accident? Did you tell them?
I can't remember. I don't think so.
Okay. Because that's the thing.
It doesn't seem like the type of information I would have volunteered.
Not something I would disclose?
No, it's not a thing I would have.
No, dude, when I got my first DUI, I didn't call anybody. I just sat in the cell until they let me go. When I got my second DUI, same thing. Like I called my ex-fiance. And we were kind of like trying to work things out, and I told her I wasn't drinking. I think we talked about this. But I was like,
and then someone else fucked it up for you.
My sister. But that's the thing is like when I would get in trouble, because I've been arrested 8 times, I think only one time did I actually call my mom or my parents at any point. Like when I was in jail for 4 months, I would talk to my dad once a week, but I didn't like... It was like when something happened, it wasn't like my thing to be like, Dad, come help me.
Yeah.
And I used to talk about that with friends all the time. And I talked about it on stage a little, but it's like in the movies when something happens and like it's to a kid in a movie and they're like, I don't want to call my dad. To me, that was so foreign. I was like, oh, that was never even a thought. Like, this is me out here running and gunning. Like nobody else is responsible for me. Like, I'm not going to call anybody.
My whole life was just like hiding things from them.
Yeah.
So that's like the instinct.
So there's no way he knew.
No. Probably not.
And so
probably not. I might have at my lowest like just like capitulating of like, hey, I fucked up.
Yeah.
But I don't think he knew.
So he's freaking out, yelling at the cops.
He's freaking out.
How big is the dog? It's a little dog, right?
I have a little dog. It's 24 pounds. So that's what I mean about he's grasping.
Yeah.
He's like, the dog's not gonna he was an asshole. He would have probably bit the cops, but he's not gonna.
But it's not a thing.
No, they just fucking kick him. Like
it's not a 100-pound Doberman or something.
He's just grasping and flustered.
So what happens?
That was like cuffs? Yeah, he put me in cuffs, and my dad followed me down to.
So he gets in the car and follows you down to the station?
Yeah, they're nice to him. They're like, you can follow us down to the station, and we'll figure out what's going on. They go down to the station.
So wait, you're not resisting or anything like that. No. They're there, but they still put you in handcuffs to put you in the car?
Mm-hmm.
I always find that interesting.
Yeah, I don't know.
Because I've had it both ways. I've had guns pulled on me when I had a warrant and, get down on the ground. And in the one-man show, I mean, it's the fucking trailer for the one-man show. I go, it's just like the movies. And then I've also had cops be like, come on, dude. Like when I got my first DUI, they're like, just get in the car.
I had a bail bondsman one time. I forgot about this. This is before I went down to Virginia Tech. But one time I had a bail bondsman. He was looking for me and I was just lying about where I was. We were literally texting.
Wait, why? How did you know a bail bondsman?
I bailed out for something and I can't remember what it was.
Oh,
and
fuck.
I just didn't go to court. And then so they were texting maybe and like, where are you? You have to go to jail now.
Yeah.
And I was just like, I don't think so. And then so we were playing like cat and mouse. This is crazy. We were playing cat and mouse. We were texting and then long story short, I was like, I'm just here. And then when they came to get me to take me to jail, Yeah, he didn't lock me up. He actually gave me a cigarette. We smoked a cigarette. Yeah, and I had someone come with me, so we just went in. They bailed me out. We went out. It was fine.
Because I was under the impression that you had this super clean streak because of your military ID. You were just getting out of all this stuff. But you had gone, before you went down to Virginia Tech with your ex, you had gotten arrested.
Yeah. Okay. I was doing dumb shit. But I guess they just didn't check.
Yeah.
I think cops, they see a military ID or something, they're just like, don't be dumb. And also, how many people in the military are shitheads? It's like almost exclusively shitheads.
I thought you were going to go the other way.
No.
That was a great misdirect there, Scott.
No, dude, it's a lot. I meant this. I've said this all the time.
Kevin Sanchez. I've had him on this show. You was talking about when he was in the military. A lot of shitheads.
Yeah, I met the smartest and dumbest people I've ever met in my life in jail and in the army.
Yeah, yeah.
Very similar groups of people.
Yep.
It's
a
just
lot of them go from one to the other.
Yeah, it's just like, what am I going to do with my time? Yeah, exactly.
So you go to jail, and I know we talked about this last time. This is the thing the crux of the episode I really wanted to get to 50 minutes in. When you go to jail, you said jail saved your life. So what happens? You get there, and you're like, I can't keep fucking doing this? Or how long did you get sentenced for? Like, what happened?
I do just want to say before, that moment with my dad and him not knowing and me going down and him being like not knowing when the next time he was going to see me. And all this stuff, because they drove me back down and I went to jail. But that was probably the hardest out of everything.
Yeah.
Out of everything I've ever done. Like, that moment was just...
When you come out of the car and you see your dad and you're just kind of
not just like when I'm getting arrested and like taken out and watching my dad be like not have anything to do. Just watch his son
having
get
no
like,
control on the situation.
And for him, it's like the lowest... Like, nobody knows this is in the future.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to be fine.
When they're holding you when you're first born, they're not like, I'm going to watch him get dragged away to jail one day.
Yeah. So, or that I'm going to be fine after.
Yeah, that's true too. I mean, you made a whole life for yourself.
Yeah. So that was hard. But yeah, I get to jail. I assume it's going to be 6 months or whatever. I go to court. They offer me.
Did you get a lawyer?
Yeah, public defender.
Yeah, that's
I can't. My parents are like, yeah, right. They're like, no, dude. But we all assume it'd be like time served by my court date, which was like 3 or 4 months in. And they offered me.
So wait, when you went to your arraignment, what was the charge? Was all?
I don't remember like the order of things. Yeah. I remember I went once, and they were like, "Oh,
because within your first like 2 or 3 days, you go in front of the judge, and they kind of tell you what you're being charged with and everything."
Yeah, they told me that, and then it was like, "Oh, you talk to your public defender. You'll have a court in like a couple months." And
you didn't bail out. You're just like, well, I'll just stay here because I'm gonna have to do the time.
I don't think they gave me bail, or the bail was. I don't think they gave me bail.
Okay.
Because I had so many FTA.
Flight risk.
Yeah, a bunch of idiots. Because I've been dumb.
Yeah, that's true. Because the failure to appear for all the suspended license stuff. Yeah,
and they had to go 4 hours to get me.
Yeah.
On a warrant.
There's no way they're giving me bail.
Yeah, so they didn't give me bail. But I know I went to court a few months later, and they were like, okay, well, it'll be a year if you don't want a felony. I could have left with a felony.
Yeah.
But they were like, it's a year if you want a misdemeanor. And I was like, okay, well, I'll do it.
Yeah, because we were talking about that last time. That's literally as we turned the mics off, we were talking about the year +1 and the year -1 because a lot of people don't understand that.
Yeah.
The prison versus jail aspect.
So I had to stay in jail the whole time. So I remember going back to the cell and it was just bad. But the reason it saved my life, I think, is that I just I started meditating. I had a bunkie named Stephen Hong. Shout out. I actually did a gig in Virginia Beach a couple weeks ago and we saw each other again.
Yeah.
That was amazing. We took pictures. We stayed up all night, like made some music because he owns a business now and is like a music producer.
Awesome, and yeah, between the halfway house and jail cells, I'm still in touch with a lot of those people who haven't died, and it's so cool because it's one of those things where we're all the ones you obviously stay in touch with are the ones who are doing better.
Yeah,
there's not people don't go out and relapse on heroin and update their Instagram. So
exactly.
You just don't see them, but it is a cool thing to be like one of the guys, Austin, I was in jail with the whole time. And same kind of thing, like just could not get it together.
Yeah.
And then now he owns like a big business in Palm Beach County. Like he's a staple in that community.
Yeah, because what do you do with all this energy? What do you do with all the addictive behavior? You put it towards positive things if you're smart. Maybe not 100% of the time.
Yeah, sometimes we still get in trouble.
Sometimes you
eat a bunch of
here and there. Eat a bunch of McDonald's in the middle of the night for no reason.
Hey, dude, I had 3 slices of pizza and a cannoli last night after the show, 1 a.m.
Now you're getting honest.
Let's fucking go.
You waited till now. You didn't do it when I did it. You were like, I bet you thought about it. You're like, do I say what I ate? Yeah, I'm not going to.
And it was after I watched the video. And I was like, you fat piece of shit. But I was like, I am hungry.
Yeah.
And I'm the kind of person where I show up to the pizza place and they go, usual?
Oh,
and I go,
Yeah, my bodega guy says see you tomorrow.
Yeah.
When I leave. He doesn't say like when I go see you tomorrow.
Rough.
I know. He also gives me a banana every time I go in there, and I'm allergic to bananas, but I don't have the heart to tell him.
Oh, you're allergic?
Yeah, he's always like, oh, but there's a banana for you. I'm like, thanks, buddy. And I just fucking throw it in the trash. Yeah.
So, Steven.
Yeah, so I had
That's what you said,
good
right? His name was
bunkmates,
Steven?
man. Yeah, I got in there, and I don't think there was any major like epiphany that happens like all at once.
Yeah, slowly over time.
I just think it was, I think with all the trauma that I had growing up and like you know, being worried and just constantly hyper aware all the time.
Yeah, we talked about that.
You know, yeah, just like I know where everyone in my apartment is at all times
Yeah.
if the door's closed and I'm in my room. I know what the fuck is going on everywhere around me all the time. And I can't help it. And I thought everyone was like that. I was talking to my girlfriend about it. Not everybody's like that. People just relax.
Well, people like us, we get, and we talked about this on the first episode, but because of certain things that have happened in our lives,
You have to.
it became a survival instinct to know where everyone is at all times.
So I think having that not around during jail was like I'd never had that before. It was just, I didn't have the option.
Yeah.
And then that being surrounded by people who like, we had schedules. Like it's like, it was comedy, it was whatever, but I held myself in a certain way where it was like, I'm not here to fuck around. I don't want to fight. I don't want to get worse. I don't want to figure out how to like do drugs in here.
Yeah.
I want to read books, do my time, you know, communicating with my family and writing letters and having to write a letter to my mother and like sit on those feelings for like days until I get a response and have her sit on those feelings for days. That was the type of communication I never had with anybody in my life. Mm-hmm. So it's like, how often do you write letters to each other? Try that. Try not having to like, you don't get to text in your emotions.
I say it all the time.
You have to.
One of the things I did when I was in jail for that 4 months, but I would write, she was my girlfriend at the time, and we had only started dating like 2 months before I got locked up. Yeah. And she stayed with me the whole time, and I would write her a letter every day. Yeah. And then when we got out, I was like, oh yeah, obviously you're my you're my one and only, like you're my person. Yeah. Because it's a different series of emotions that you feel expressed. Like you said, you just said it best, like writing it out, sitting on it, and then having to wait with those feelings.
Well, a lot of times we're so impulsive. We have so much access to everybody, and we get mad when they don't text us back. It's like, immediately. Give it a fucking minute. Like, give it a minute. And it's like, and I'll do this all the time. I text people when I'm mad or like have an opinion, and I text an emotion, and then 20 minutes later, I don't feel like that anymore. I wouldn't have had this whole conversation if I just waited.
For the sports podcast will do that to me sometimes. Shout out to Joe. I know you're listening.
Shout out Joe.
He'll text me something about, like, if I say something like way out of left field. Like on one episode, I was doing a Trump impression, and I said, "Black people love me because of my swagger." Yeah, and obviously,
which is a fact. That's true.
I'll get a text about that. But Joe texted me about it, and then when I texted him back, like I was doing something, so I didn't text him back for like an hour. And he's like, yeah, I'm not even that mad anymore. They just don't speak for black people, please. I was like, okay. But it was like one of those things where in the moment he was like fired up, but then you wait a little while.
I think black people like swag. I think that's pretty. I don't think, and not stuff we all get, not that kind of swag. I think it's pretty universal that they like swag. They invented the word.
But
it's not a
to your point,
statement.
It's one of those things where if you just, you wait a little while. I'm the same way. Like if I'm mad about something and then I just go to like if I'm at the gym and I'm pissed off and I'll just put my phone away. Yeah. And then I'll just work out. And then afterwards I'm like, oh, I don't even care.
But a lot of the times you just can't. Having that situation forced on you and having that communication with the people that you resent and being like, before that, me and my mother were like, we were not cool. I resented her for a lot of stuff. And after that, I just felt like I knew her better. Yeah. And I felt like we had been through something together, not like she had caused me pain. I felt supported for the first time in a weird way. I hate to say that, but like I felt very, I just felt like the black sheep piece of shit. And I still harbor those feelings. Mm-hmm. But when I was in jail, I was like, oh, I have a family that loves me and like cares about me and is willing to write me and willing to drive down here and visit me. And those thoughts weren't present, but I think that I felt them. Yeah. You know what I mean? I don't think I was conscious.
I know 100% what you mean.
This is the first time I've ever said that out loud, but I think that was, and then that coupled with, I'm just trying to get everything out, but that coupled with the fact that my cellmates, maybe not my cellmates, but the people I was surrounded by and the people I chose to like group with, and when we did get to trustee, and like when I did get to choose a little bit,
the whites,
the people that wouldn't, the people that didn't like swag, but
I'm just kidding. In jail, there's not nearly as much segregation as there is in prison.
No, it was fine. There's no really option to segregate, but dude, we had workout plans, and like Steven, we'd wake up in the morning and we'd read a Bible verse, and we'd talk about what that meant to us, and then we did yoga. And then we meditate, and then we worked out twice a day, and we were like trading food to like stay in shape, and we were like writing down workouts from Men's Health magazine. It was a very, very productive time in my life.
Yeah.
And it really, everything after that came from trying to make up for it, I think. So there was a little bit of unhealthiness in the success that I had after, or anything that would be considered success, because it was trying to make up for it ego-wise, and also just addictive behavior, needing to like do something.
So you get out of jail, and then what? Because we only have a few minutes left. What is the precipice of like coming to New York and everything? I know we kind of touched on it before, but when I want to talk about in more detail, like you get out of jail and then what happens?
So, and I'll make it quick, but I get out of jail. I get a serving job. I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life.
You move back home with your parents?
Go back home with my parents. Okay. I have a serving job at this small Irish bar in D.C. I love serving. I'm good at it. And I need something to do with my time. Baby? Yeah, and so I'm serving. The owner's daughter is a server there. She starts being like, hey, this guy like knows what he's doing.
Oh, I thought you were going the other way.
No, I didn't fuck her. This guy knows what he's doing. I get promoted to manager. The GM gets pregnant. I eventually get promoted to GM like pretty quickly. I get fully obsessed. Start doing drugs. Start drinking again.
Oh no!
Yeah, but get fully obsessed
with the restaurant.
Yeah, and in a good way. And I get promoted there. The restaurant literally next door is Ping Pong Dim Sum, which is this big corporate one. There's only 2 in the United States. So that's one of them next to me. That guy.
What do you mean big corporate? I'm sorry, these details I keep getting hung up on.
I know. It's a big corporate
group. How is it
group.
In Europe or in Asia? Or
it's a big corporate group, like mostly in the UK. And they have 2 in the United States, and they're both in DC.
That makes sense. Because I work for a big corporate restaurant that are a big corporate entity that owns like 70 restaurants. So I understand that. And like my restaurant that I work at, there's only 3 in the United States. So it makes sense. So, so you go to this.
Well, I'm at the Irish place. The place next door is a big place. They see how I work. They hire me. So I moved from that restaurant. They
poach you.
Yeah. I was very good at restaurant stuff.
So they poached you to be a GM of there?
Yeah. Yeah. And so I have 2 locations now with them. And then I leave that job and I go to another company, and then that GM, and then eventually RM. And this whole time, I know. And so the goal, the next thing I was supposed to do was like part ownership. I'm making training manuals for all 7 restaurant GMs. And at that point, though, I had escalated my drug use and drinking because I'm successful.
How old are you at this point?
27, 28, 26.
You really moved up quick.
I was working 80 hours a week. I was killing myself because I'm an addict.
Yeah.
So, long story short, I got to the top of that, went through 3 different restaurants, just buying nice suits and running and gunning. My personal life's falling apart. Obviously. I'm just spending 100% of my time working. I'm showing up in nice suits, but I'm going home and locking myself in a room and doing drugs and drinking and like getting it together right before I have to leave. And that recoil of being able to like go out and get fucked up and then do my job well is getting smaller and smaller.
Yeah.
And so I end up at this place, and right before I started comedy, I was just at a place called A-Town. It doesn't exist anymore, but it was in Arlington. And I was just at my wit's end, dude. Were you managing? I was a GM.
So you went from the top of the food chain, like making like the RM, and then you ended up in A-Town just as a GM.
No, the A-Town was RM, yeah.
Okay.
RM, GM. I was in RM, so I had two restaurants, and I was planning on taking on more.
Yeah.
And it just imploded. I just was like, I wasn't managing the money there correctly. Like, I just wasn't paying attention. I would show up. I remember showing up on a Monday one time, and we were supposed to count the money with payroll, and I couldn't count the money because I got so fucked up the night before.
Wow.
And she was like, "What are you doing?" But that was kind of like, it was a party place, so they were like, they were kind of like, she was disappointed, but it was like, whatever. Damn. Everyone here gets fucked up.
So then you quit, and then you started doing comedy.
I quit. Was at my wit's end, and then I started a podcast, and then I started having conversations like this.
Yeah.
And then I was like, oh. And then I had a couple of successful episodes. And I was like, oh, I can't keep drinking if this is.
Yeah.
And I literally just stopped. No meetings, no nothing. It was just like, I have the opportunity to make this my life. And I can't keep drinking if I want to do that.
Yeah.
And so it was just, that was it. After all the months, after all the
Damn, dude.
AA tries, everything, it was just like finding a purpose.
I always say, I tell my
purpose.
sponsees this, I don't care what you believe in, just believe in it. You got to find something bigger than yourself.
That's it.
Yeah.
That is it. Purpose is the thing that saved my life.
Me too.
And anybody that I talk to and anybody that I have people DM me, I have someone DMing me now, like recently, because I have a clip I posted, and I told them purpose. They're in AA, they've tried a bunch of times, and I'm like, you just need something that you are not willing to fuck up.
Yeah.
That's it.
I say it all the time. The reason why my drinking got out of control was because one of the big reasons was nothing was more important to me than drinking. Like my sister, my older sister had her job. So we're all heavy drinkers, but she could rein it in if it was important for her job. My twin sister had her family. She didn't want to end up like how our family ended up, where the mom was drunk all the time. So she was able to rein it in. For me, I had nothing until I got sober. And then I was 3 months into being sober. And I was like, if it's working 2 jobs and going to a meeting every day in the gym, like, you can have it back. Like, I don't want this life. Like, I'll just check out, which wasn't an idle threat at the time because I had been suicidal in the past. I was like, I don't want to drink anymore, but I don't want to live this life.
Yep.
And that's when my sponsor was like, what about stand up? You love stand up. Get back into stand up. And then I was like, oh, the whole world opened up. I was like, oh, this is what I meant to do.
Yeah.
Dude, this was great, man. Thank you for coming back on, bro.
We always talk about the other stuff. I really appreciate it. I really enjoy talking to you.
Plug everything one more time.
Grove 34, Scott Hall stand up on all the platforms. The other podcast is You Can't Say That.
You can't say that.
Yeah, we just talk. That one's a bit aggressive. A lot of swagger talk on that.
Thank you, everybody, so much for listening. At Brennan T Comedy on all social media, BrennanTComedy.com. Check out the one-man show, Ex-Drinking Buddy, A Comics Look at Life, Near Death, Recovery, and Redemption. And we'll talk to you all next week.
Bye. Love you.